Joe, I got news for you. But hold on one second. Oh, I'm very Oprah with the wrenches. There you go. So Rosenfeld 10, Average Joe. I have a question for you specifically. I have been involved with a group called the Incorruptibles, and they are they are looking to, but their whole deal is they are trying to train people as to how to organize locally, and they are offering a basically a an online course. And what I want to do is I want to take a look at it and evaluate it. So I immediately thought of you because I'm sure that you can think of one or two things that can be done in your local area. Oh. Once I get the specific information, I will let everybody know, especially if they want to participate. Ah, ramen's so bad for you, but so good. Oh Lord. Um, One thing I'm curious if you guys have ever have you guys ever done juicing? Because I wanna actually try it out because I do have a juicer that I have like never used. Yeah, I should just take that packet and just frickin' pour it in my mouth. uh, well, Joe, what are your local food sources like, or do you pretty much your local food source is your grocery store? Can you actually get stuff locally grown? Or any of you guys? Do you guys get any locally grown food? Mm. Oh, oh. Mm, mm, mm. Which movie was that? So what kind of juices did you make, Nash? Because I'm looking to uh, to try out a couple things. um, I have to cleanse the sodium out of me after I eat this. Tiajuna. Is it really true about the water in Mexico, or is it actually now it's so bad on the planet that Mexico water is actually better than most? My God. No, that makes perfect sense. Deb Della Piana. Oh. Huh. Well, I have to say that any videos entitled "Shut the fuck up and listen," all right, you got my attention. I'm not going to listen to her now. So, Joe, what truly blows my mind is that they actually sell seafood, not even the produce, which I would think that would be tainted also, because I would think that the groundwater might be tainted by the oil. But the seafood, I mean, seriously, I can't believe that the FDA would allow it. So I believe on the menu is oily catfish and that's incredible. What I wonder is how you can test seafood. how would you bring a piece of fish or a, shellfish to a lab and check it out? How would you test that? Probably going to check it out on online. I'm all excited about that. I love finding new people. Hmm. Hmm. Yeah. Well, that's kind of the problem. And yeah. So I'm not gonna like uh, advertise her too much, but where is Deb Della Piana from? Just before I start listening, Zox, do you know? Okay. Oh, all right. This is what I love about the community too. Friggin' 3:30 in the morning. All right, what is this? All right, now I'm probably not going to be on that long. You can come on if you want, Ben. Oh, look at you. You get a wrench too. Oh, no, no. No, 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 no. I'm going to read this story to you real quick. Gulf of Mexico seafood might finally be safe. And this is from April of 2015, so this is 3 years ago. Um, a new study from the University of Florida promises a brighter future for the Gulf of Mexico, which was stricken by the Deepwater Horizon disaster of 2010. Researchers sampled more than 1,000. Ooh, I bet you this is Ben. Hold on. Yeah. Hey, Ben. Oh, good. Oh, hey, Snork. Did you hear any of the questions that I had? Okay. So, I mean, I was just reading over this story back in 2015 where they were saying, based on a University of Florida, uh, testing of fish, that they're saying that Gulf seafood is safe. Ah,
It might be okay to say safer.
right, right. I mean, how so? What is the? I would think that they're going for the legal base definition of safe, whatever that might be. Acceptable levels of whatever chemicals or oil, petroleum, are in seafood to digest. Which I don't know what the levels are. I was getting there,
Well,
but
I'm not actually think that petroleum would be too heavy in them, but some of the derivatives of petroleum, like benzene and stuff, might be in them.
right, right. I heard a lot about benzene being in, especially in like 2011, 2012. So, but I, I don't know, and also I understand the BP oil spill is a big deal, but haven't there also been other spills after that?
Yeah.
Yeah, so
Well, just um, almost no ship can cross the ocean without leaking some oil. Just like you go to any parking lot and find
right,
drips of oil all throughout the parking lot.
right,
And that stuff all goes down to the drains and on down the rivers and out to the Gulf. Well, at least for a large portion of it.
right. So, and I don't know the Gulf is a little different, but if you have a spill in the Atlantic, does it travel, or does all the whether if it's oil, it just sinks to the bottom, or would it travel to other parts of the
It
world?
depends on the components. Some of the components of oil float, some sink. Now, the ones that don't sink all the way to the bottom could take 20,000 years to circulate the entire world.
Okay.
The circulation time for all the oceans, I believe, is 20,000 years. Where if it's no matter where it starts, it'll have seen the entire world ocean-wise in 20,000 years.
Well, I don't think we have to worry about that. But also, what other what other resources have leaked, whether it be natural gas or whatever what chemicals have leaked into our water supply over time.
A big one for the Gulf is called eutrophication. EUTROFICATION. It's hard for
Okay.
me to spell this time of night. And that is where large blooms of algae die in the Gulf Coast, and then they use up the oxygen, killing everything in the area. And what feeds them is the sewage coming down the Mississippi River, which also contains all the sewage from the Ohio and the Missouri and the
Right.
Wisconsin and the Illinois rivers.
Right.
And this feeds a large amount of algae that dies in too concentrated an area because of the way we fish. There isn't enough stuff down there to eat the algae, so the algae dies. Now, if it was an environment where it was spread out a little bit, and we didn't completely fish out the area, the fish could probably thrive on this. But instead, this algae pretty much leaves an oil scum on top of the ocean too.
But yeah, at the Gulf, where the Mississippi goes in, I know there are tons of fracking wells right there. There are all these swamplands there, and I think like 50% of them are gone or something like that. Or I know there's like hundreds of wells right there in that area, and they've like it's all on a Vice News documentary, and they like trudged out and like dug out big ditches and stuff there, which isn't what naturally should be for the swamps, but it's good for getting the boats in there for the fracking operations and stuff. And they're just completely destroying the like this swampland and this ecosystem or whatever. It's ruined. It's just turned into like a factory.
I thought that it was pretty amazing that I was just one night, Stevie was on, and I just went on and researched what West Virginia and actually Virginia's biggest resources were, and for Virginia other than tobacco, and for West Virginia other than coal, and fish was listed as a major resource, and I said, I know Stevie, and I know Paula Jean. They have shown video of some of the rivers, and I can't imagine people fishing in that. No.
Virginia, river, not river fish, ocean fish.
Okay. Well, no, they actually mentioned West Virginia, which I was like, now Virginia. The issue with Virginia, I can see the Atlantic. The Atlantic is not that bad, but if you're talking river fish, no way, because the James River ruined, been ruined for decades, unless you have some major cleanup. And I know they were talking about it, but I don't know how long it would take, and that is not only lead but mercury. There are
more than that.
Well, mercury's the big one, but yeah, there's a ton more of that too, and just garbage in there too. So it's basically a dumping ground now. It's supposed
mercury apparently takes such little amount to cause so much harm.
Yes.
They were talking on this SCI show, SciShow episode. They covered a irresponsible kind of coal mine in Montana, and they weren't taking care of their mercury and storing everything right, and like they leaked a whole bunch of mercury into the water, and it took scientists a little while to figure out all the different ways that it traveled from species to species and stuff. Like they couldn't figure out why it was in deer and stuff, but eventually, figured out affected all kinds of animals.
And I take with lead.
It went into the Columbia River too. It was in the Columbia River too, all the way over here.
Yeah.
I think.
With lead, you just have to completely replace all the pipes.
Oh no, that's just getting it out from what's coming from your house. With lead, you still need to, if it's at your source, you need to remove it from your supply as well. You basically have to find some common point to get rid of lead, or you have to filter it in every single house.
How much would it actually cost to fix the Flint situation?
About $1,000 a house, plus about $100 a year per house.
Okay. And the houses,
that's just one solution.
The houses are worth that much. The houses are worth what, like 12 grand, something like that. 12, 15 grand, I think.
All over the place.
Yeah.
I've been to Flint and had some really nice houses.
Okay.
But I haven't been to Flint since the automotive industry crashed.
Okay.
Whenever what's that that's trapped under snort? Do you know like under garbage sites or whatever you call it, waste?
You mean methane gas?
That's what I was thinking. So like, can we just like frack garbage sites later for methane? Is it useful?
We should just be collecting the methane. The other thing is we should get a head start on it. We have so many unemployed people. We should start sorting the garbage, putting the stuff that produces methane in a common area and just collecting it, as well as cleaning up the place.
If everything was made with a more high quality plastic, then wouldn't people is there a plastic right now that's above the rest that people would want to recycle? I mean, they do have different numbers of plastics.
No. Every plastic has its use. There are plastics coming out that are more recyclable. I have a project coming up where I'm going to want to use used milk jugs. Lots of used milk jugs.
Right.
It's a really, as long as I'm not recovering it for food and using it for other uses, it's a very good resource that can be reused again and again and again. The problem with the reusable plastics that people don't bring up is how much energy it takes to make them. So you really need to play every situation on its own merit and look at, okay, for this application, I want to use this. Behind me, the machine uses what's called polylactic acid, the type of plastic. And basically, if it sits in water long enough, it'll turn into corn flour, which can be eaten by microbes without large methane production. So it produces a plastic that is pretty environmentally friendly. But you can't use polylactic acid for everything. It's a little bit brittle. It's good for holding things together, or it's good for making things look good, or it's good for being used to make molds to make other things out of another material.
So I have a question about, because people have always told me this. When it comes to the clear plastic water bottles, whether it be Poland Spring or Dasani, I have been told not to reuse those too much because the chemicals used to create that bottle would leach into the water.
No, that's incorrect. What you have to avoid is sunlight.
Okay.
One of the biggest problems we have is people that are our friends that aren't trying to hurt us, aren't trying to give us bad, have got bad information and they pass it along. But when you hear information from a trusted source, you believe it without checking it out.
Right.
what really is the big problem is some of the water bottles are made by polyethylene paraphthalate, which when it's given the energy of sunlight, ultraviolet light, some of it breaks down into acetaldehyde. You don't want any kind of aldehyde really in large volumes in your body. We can handle a little bit, and it's viewed more as a problem in that it's an artificial sweetener. But if it was in high concentrations, and your body has all kinds of minerals in it, like you need a little bit of vanadium, but if you have more than about 2 grams in your body, you'll die. So there's a balance on everything and what you can handle. We actually probably get cancer every day, and our body can handle a few cells and take care of them, take them out.
This good news brought to you by...
But when the system gets overwhelmed, you can't take it out anymore
right
by itself. So the same thing is true of these plastics in the water bottle. There are plastics that you can get that will leach. So there are some. But for most people, they take a fact and they extrapolate it too far. So, milk is bad for some people. Some people cannot tolerate having milk. That doesn't mean all people can't tolerate having milk. My daughter can't have wheat. She eats gluten-free stuff.
Right.
When I go to the gluten-free aisle, there's a lot of stuff that she can't eat because it's feeding the fad, not actually addressing her issue. So it seems like they'll put all kinds of materials in gluten-free foods. And there'll be 15 different types of pizza in the gluten-free aisle. In only one my daughter can eat.
Right.
And marketing people can take advantage of this. So when you see bottled water, if you keep it in the shade, away from ultraviolet light, it lasts a good long time and it's safe. Now, there are multiple grades of bottled water. If it says spring water in it, it doesn't have contaminants removed from it, and it could have every bad thing that you could drink right out of your river. If it says purified water, it's purified water. It's clean. So purified water will usually be 40 to 70% cheaper than spring water. And my kids know you don't reach for spring water.
Right.
They'd rather have a cow sneeze in their mouth than drink spring water. So you all have to look at the different aspects in their own merit.
I think it's such a shame. I was just thinking about the other day, like, it's such a shame that if a spring was contaminated, a single spring is contaminated, that's a shame. And now we're contaminating aquifers.
We're having the problems that now that the aquifers have been depleted, a lot of surface contaminants didn't enter into the aquifers because the aquifers had positive pressure. They were pushing contaminants out. Now that we've drained the aquifers, they no longer have this protection of positive pressure. In fact, they're now becoming places for the contaminants to soar in. So then after they refill, let's say after California, where it had the extreme droughts where the wells dried up. So afterwards, the aquifers are no longer pristine like they were. Now they're just basically sewers. And the people will now suddenly have that water drawn that there were so many years tested as clean and whatever. They don't realize that it's not the same situation that they had before. We're probably going to see a lot of deaths from people not realizing what contaminants are in their water now that the aquifers refilled a little bit. Although I do think California is going back into another drought. And we're days away from seeing South Africa run out of water completely.
Oh my goodness.
So their aquifers are discharged.
Aid like Red Cross, or like what is it, Red Cross and UN relief or something, I guess. That was still.
And not for nothing, Nestle. I mean, you know they're coming.
Yeah, but if the aquifers refill, there will not be as safe as they were to draw from. So they are going to be left with the filtration or.
For our situation where we like waste so much food, like I mean, it would be better if, instead of farming and overusing the land and having to, over irrigating or whatever, if we just like didn't waste food and quality over quantity. I don't know. Sorry, idealistic, abstract crap.
Yeah. One of the problems we have is we too often think that since we can do something, that it's okay to do it. We have if we can build a factory that can have a smokestack, that it's okay for us to emit fumes into the air. And there's so much pushback on anything you try to do to say, well, you're pushing it into all of our air. Why aren't we regulating it? And it's very hard to fight against the people that need those jobs that factory has that's belching the stuff into the air. It's very hard to tell the farmers that they can't irrigate when they're making food from the water they irrigate, even if it's going to prevent food from being able to be produced in the future.
I didn't even really look at that carefully, but that it was a Forbes article, so I kind of believed it just because it was from Forbes, talking about how like half of the topsoil in America has run off in the last 50 years, something like that. Something like that. Seemed pretty scary.
I don't believe it'll be on topsoil in the next 20 years. But Stevie might have more on that with her upcoming guest.
What were you saying in the next 20 years about topsoil?
We will not be using topsoil as our source of growing food. It's not going to be there. Recently, the last windrow that was put in that stopped the what was the big dust storm? The Dust Bowl. The last
20s and 30s.
Yeah, the last windbreak that was put in was dug up last month. So we've totally reverted to the situation we were at the Dust Bowl. Economically and everything, we're setting ourselves up for another Dust Bowl. One of the problems they had is you just can't make dirt and get it going. Forest people that are into forestry and wildlife biology found that if they wanted to grow a lot of trees quickly, they actually had to dig up a tree and move it somewhere so that it would supply the necessary environment, ecosystem that the little trees needed to live. So without the topsoil, we have to remediate and review how we're going to grow every bit of food we have.
Wendell Berry is a really great guy. He talks about agricultural issues and stuff a lot. He's been like very strongly opposed like large scale, agricultural business and basically Monsanto for like decades and decades. And he said, I remember him quoting somebody else. Once upon a time, he said, so the annuals are like nature's band-aids on its, but perennials are its skin. he said annuals are its band-aids, perennials are its skin. So I don't know. I think when I guess the way farming's done, a lot of the like I think there's that maybe it's the pesticides, whatever, or maybe it's I don't know what it is. Not enough area for wildflowers and stuff. But those perennials, I think that's part of it. Maybe part of the problem, not having the topsoil being in the situation it needs to be in.
Well, farmers right now are trying different topsoil management methods, but the local agricultural bodies really can't talk all farmers into doing it. And we still have this problem where if you own property, you're almost allowed to do anything on it. It's very hard to implement or even enforce any kind of rules. And we have no collective system for identifying how we are going to handle our trash and in other waste streams. How are we replenishing our systems? No plans at all.
What about these stories where people are fined or even arrested for collecting their own rainwater? What is that about?
The states contracted and sold their water rights. And as part of that, they have the agreement to enforce that people are not capturing the water that they've purchased.
So
other states are doing it.
Actually, should be fined or working with the government to find us.
Yeah.
Find small people. Okay.
Other areas are banning it because they feel that they're going into drought and they need to have all their water go to the common sequester, and that if people are hoarding it in their own bins, then they won't be supplying the common need when they need it.
So, like, do you think over in Europe, where they're doing like more forward, progressive things, like banning, this and that, and like Monsanto or there's a lot. There like I hear about all sorts of things that like Germany and or even like all across Europe where they ban this and that, and it's pretty cool. You think that's gonna save them? They'll be able to keep their topsoil and whatnot, or any kind of. I think Germany has agriculture.
The Netherlands abandoned the topsoil, and they're doing fine without it. They if you put out the exporting of produce from countries and you rank them in order, Canada is not number 2. Brazil is not number 2. Argentina is not number 2. The Netherlands is. They do have soil management for what soil farms they have. They have a very short growing season, and they are they're going 100% in indoor grow, so they can get their crops in earlier. They can get them to market cheaper. They don't have to use the pesticides. Just about everything we're doing wrong, they're doing right. And that little country is smaller than West Virginia, and it's not quite half the production of the United States, but the fact that they're approaching half of what the United States is just amazing. They're basically feeding Europe, and we used to do that.
So what is the energy usage for that? Like,
they're pretty responsible when it comes to energy usage. They're using renewables.
I saw something like some little, it's kind of like a commercial where it was talking about Norway's green energy with the wind farms, and that like they typically like provide 40 or 50% of their energy needs.
Yeah, Norway has the problem that they don't have enough garbage. They are trying to buy garbage from other countries.
so they can make landfills and then they can frack it for methane. No, I'm sorry.
It doesn't make it to a landfill. They process it into energy without landfilling it. So if we were to put in any kind of effort at all, we could be doing a lot better than we're doing. And we have a national policy to stick our head in the sands. So. One of my favorite was the Netherlands has a problem with a lot of their land is too salty from being beside the ocean. They have developed a potato by selective breeding that is thrives in salt water.
Nice.
So that's a kind of effort I really like seeing. Beets originally came from a saltwater plant, and there are people that are trying to breed back the ability for beets to grow in salt water. So these are some major changes that could really help the whole planet if they could get it developed.
That's awesome.
And we're not really paying that much attention except for just a few small countries.
That stuff, it's kind of like not taking the quick way, doing it in a lab, but by doing the selective breeding, that's like, it does take time. So, you know, that's good that somebody's doing it. You know? That's awesome. It's inspiring.
Well, did I get us off track?
No.
The most important line I heard that always stays with me is like about this environment problem. I think a lot of the big problem is in we're talking about plastics, and so like on a Vice News thing, it said somewhere this person said scientists that, you know, with plastic, it's not gonna, nothing's going to change. It was at the very end of it, documentary about, you know, this stuff. Thing about this stuff, and he said nothing's going to change until plastic is seen as having value. If plastic has value, then, you know, maybe we can start to get somewhere with it. With the problem, I think it was just all about the oceans and the plastics in the ocean. They were saying it was 700 million tons or something ridiculous of plastic or plastic bags. Or I don't know. It's horrible. Ugh.
So, Snork, the topic I wanted to cover is I am going, after I eat my giant bowl of sodium, I am going to try to eat better, and I am going to attempt to juice. Do you have any suggestions as to what I should? My big thing is energy. So I don't know if I should start with green juices. I don't know if what I should. My main goal is to try to wean myself off the soda, and at the same time, just get myself back on a proper sleep schedule, number one, and number two, to have enough energy to do the things that I want to do when I'm up.
I think berries are my favorite stuff, by the way.
So while you were talking, I was going on juicing, on juicing sites and all of that, and they're talking about, the benefits of the green drinks and the chlorophyll and how that, that'll help you get more energy than some. Now, what have you ever tried to juice there, Snork?
No, I haven't.
Okay.
Again,
it can be pretty yummy. My sister's a vegan, and her husband, and so they're pretty, into that. It can be pretty good. yogurt, apples, strawberries, other berries, amazing. Whatever else you want, little green, some kale and greens and stuff.
The main thing is to be sure to look into everything yourself. Just like I said, with the when you hear information from friends,
right,
you tend to believe it whether it's true or not. And this is especially true amongst the people that swear they know everything about nutrition, whatever.
Right.
And and usually they are not trying to harm you. They, trying to repeat the information that they believe themselves. So you want to make sure that the claims are real.
Well, I mean, Snork, when you say that it's not a good idea to exercise in a heavily polluted area, like that makes sense to me. But to some people, it's counterintuitive. Like, don't exercise. No, it's like, but you're like, if in a heavily polluted area, don't do especially heavily exercising. Like that actually does make sense. But I mean, somebody might keep giving their friend advice. Oh, make sure you get that. Make sure you run every day. Like, not stipulating like, make sure you run every day, but like when it's 3 a.m. when there's not like that pollution out there or something.
I got my exercise today. I did 3 driveways and of their 8 inches of snow.
Okay.
Right.
Well, my thing too is that a little bit of something won't kill you. Every single person's makeup is different, so diet will affect people in different ways. And if you do, my thing too is I don't want to overdo it, because right now I have digestive issues and I don't want to have even more gas than I already do. And if you overdo with certain vegetables, I can't afford not to work. So I don't, you don't want to go crazy. So maybe a little bit of this and a little bit of that.
Don't go whole hog.
Right.
Start adding a little bit at a time.
Right.
Learn
don't eat late.
Yep. And
what time do you have to be at work?
I go to work at 6, or I clock in at 6, so I typically leave the house a little after 5 o'clock.
At 6 a.m. or 6 p.m.?
6 p.m. 6 p.m. to 2:30 a.m. That's why I do this.
What are your sleeping hours?
Typically between 4 and 5 to 12 or 1. So I generally get about 7 hours of sleep.
There's no way to go to sleep right when you get home from work.
Nah.
It's impossible. I've tried. It's not possible.
Well, especially if I'm drinking a ton of soda to stay up, which is part of the reason, because you've noticed sometimes that I don't go to bed until like 6:30, 7, 8 o'clock.
Digestive issue, man.
So
that's terrible for your stomach at night.
No, I know.
Before bed.
I know.
Yeah.
Well, I would. You're going to bed in 3 hours?
I don't even know what time.
No, wait a minute. No, that's not right. You're going to bed within an hour or two.
Within an hour, probably, yeah.
Okay. I shouldn't see anything in there but red lights.
I actually heard that too. Yeah, like it's bad. It actually looking at your computer is bad, right? Like, I mean, red. If you have to have any lights on, it should be red, because that's like the. I read an article about that recently.
Yeah, if you can get things to start taking the blue out of your monitor about an hour before you want to get to bed. So there are software on there for night mode for your computer, where a lot of the white stuff goes dark.
Listen to audiobooks or read a book. Read a book. Yeah.
There you go.
No, it's not.
It's like My monitors probably cover it up. Let's see if I can make it a little bit darker here. Okay.
I worked different hours. I worked at UPS. And I worked from like 3:30 to 8:30, 3:30 a.m. to 8:30 a.m. And then I switched over.
Oh my god.
6:30 p.m. to 10:30 p.m. 11 p.m.
Ugh.
I worked overnight at McDonald's from like 12 midnight to 8 in the morning. I also worked 4 and 5 a.m. jobs that started at that time. I had different experiences like that, you know, different shifts.
Now, graveyard sucks.
Did paper.
Oh.
You can't see it. I was going to show the back half of the place is all red lit. So back in my bedroom behind me is all red. I got to go to the bathroom.
Okay.
Man, I'm 32. I was just thinking today, I wish I would have joined the military when I was 18. So I could be like, I'd have like 4 or 6 years left, right? Could freaking retire. Be awesome. Instead, I'm like trying to start a career right now.
Yeah, I started in the post office when I was 30.
All right.
So, you know.
But yeah, I'm thinking about starting to make videos for teaching Chinese, like make a bunch of like video lessons. Thinking about that, I'm pretty happy considering it, but I'm kind of lazy. I kind of don't want to. And I kind of always, and I think there's like, I want to maybe get like a whiteboard and do like something like that. So it'll end up being all like amateur and like rough around the edges, and then I won't be happy with it. So then I'll just waste my time.
Right.
I've already. It's so easy for me to do though. It's easy, and I can make some useful information about it. But I'm kind of a perfectionist, or like pretty picky with stuff.
Let's see here.
I actually got like I already wrote something, like it's like this little handbook for learning Chinese when I was in Beijing. I just wrote this because I had all these friends who or all these people I knew that were studying Chinese and their teachers were not teaching them very well. So it's like, here, these are really important words because teaching the modern language teaching theory is called communicative language teaching, CLT, or something. I guess communicative language theory. I guess I don't know. Maybe that's what the T stands for, theory. I don't know, but anyway, it's like communicative language learning. It's like all about focusing on the communicative aspect of language and getting people prepared to like do some basic level communicating, and hoping that in that interaction you prepare them for, they'll be able to like figure out other things they want to say from that, and then it's like this continual building. Like because you were able to communicate in the first place, then you have more experiences, learn, get like more ideas, and can build from something. You know, instead of just learning something abstract or this you're not going to be able to learn the things that you're going to be able to find circumstances, situations to say, and start from there. And so I just made a little handbook all about this, what I thought was very basic stuff, and that was kind of directed towards people who were in China. So it's like probably I could use that, teach from that, or like do like little things, lessons from that, but at the same time that's mostly geared for people who are in China and that kind of lingo. But it's almost the same too. But at least that'd be something. It needs to be something.
Right.
My bathroom is upstairs. this weather's got me down. I'm a little tired right now. I'll probably go to bed here just a little bit.
Yeah, I'm about to go myself actually. So
I have
It
a
worked.
plumbing part coming from New Jersey, and there's an ice storm all the way from New Jersey to Chicago right now, and so my shipment is being held back, and in this shipment are these little plumbing parts that'll let me make a urinal downstairs. It's going to take a 6-inch diameter pipe and make it into a tank with a little urinal hanging below it. And my water filter takes 4 gallons of water and turns it into 3 gallons of pure water and 1 gallon of water that's 4 times as contaminated as the rest. So rather than putting that 1 gallon down the drain, I'm going to move it over to my little storage tank. So we use 12 gallons of water per day for drinking and cooking, which means I get 3 gallons of water today that I could use for flushing.
It's awesome.
No, that's not so awesome.
No, that's awesome.
I'm not using the upstairs toilet.
Right.
And it's still putting out the same amount of contaminants into the sewer on average anyway.
Yeah.
If you were in a basically if you were in a building like a high rise, like some Trump condos or something in Chicago or something, I don't know. If you could like use less water, like 20% less water every day per room, you could almost build the building lighter, or build the building with like. I know when they talk about those extremely high, tall buildings, the big issue is pumping the water up that high. So they're trying to like do like rain collecting stuff to offset that, or they're theorizing that they can do that in the future. Why not build bunch of crazy windmills and some kind of scaffolding?
Yeah, the typical purpose of the water tower in town is to provide water pressure at 40 to 60 psi, and you see how short they are. So getting that water up the building really adds pressure fast.
Dang.
But I'm also been reducing the amount of caffeinated soda I drink, and I'm really noticing the energy drain.
Yeah.
But moderation is the key. Just doing a little bit at a time, and it does take a while to get used to.
You say you have less energy with less soda?
Yeah.
Well, yeah. Your body gets used to that. So.
I just look at it as indulging my sweet tooth and getting fat, messing up my teeth. I don't know. The only thing that I lost a lot of weight twice by becoming vegetarian. I lost like 10 pounds or 12 pounds in like 6 weeks, and I lost like 30 pounds in like 9 months one time. But I also lost like 30 or 40 pounds in like 9 months or a year one time by just exercising a lot. But the first time, like I quit, very first time, just like the 6 weeks, was I quit eating meat because where I was working at this grocery store was surrounded by all these fast food restaurants. I would always go there on break, and I was like, this is a trap. This is like a pit trap. Like this is not good. So I decided, well, if I become a vegetarian, I won't be able to eat any of that junk. And then suddenly I was just going to like Wendy's and getting like a side salad and fries for lunch. Or I was eating grape tomatoes and eating things like that during the day. And like, I lost weight quick.
My wife lost 60 pounds over 6 months by adding a candy bar a day to her diet.
Why did that help her not eat other things, or what?
No, She would do it a few hours before she went to bed, and it would jack up her metabolism overnight, so she would burn off more energy.
Hmm.
That was her theory anyway, and it worked.
But it's like taking, like, if you squeeze lemon into your water, I guess for some people, or I heard it's bad if you have ulcers, but if you like drink lemon water, it's really like way better than Tums. It's like screw Tums. Tums make you need more Tums. But like if you if I have acid reflux, sometimes I just put a little lemon in some water, and my acid reflux goes away. And somebody told me that before, and I just like, what? And it's like, it's counterintuitive, but there's reason to it. I mean, like the way they explained to me, I can explain it, but it seems like, okay, so like apparently if you add the acid, then like your stomach's like, oh, it's acidy, so then it compensates back, or like whatever, I don't know. But anyway, it works. It does work for me. I can attest. I can avow, like, empirically for myself, it works. And some lemon water. I would think it was counterintuitive, actually, if it didn't explain it to me.
Yeah, I think I'm getting a bit tired. I'm going to start preparing to go to bed.
Yep.
I'll see you later.
All right.
All right.
Talk to you.
Bye, guys.
See you, Ben. Yep.